Welcome to Assembly Bethesda On Air. I'm Hayne Fogarty, and I'm genuinely glad you've joined me today. We're going to lean into a question that, for many of us, has resided in the quieter, sometimes shadowed, corners of our Christian journey. Could God's hiddenness actually have a purpose? Now, this isn't a topic we can rush. It asks for a certain kind of space, the kind where candles burn low, where ancient stone floors hold a persistent chill, and where the light filtering through stained glass windows is colored, muted, never quite full. That's the atmosphere we'll embrace today. Christian Gothic, you might say. It's warm enough to be approachable, yet dark enough to be truly honest about our experiences. Let's begin by simply acknowledging that experience. Have you ever felt it? Those seasons when the sense of God's tangible nearness seems to grow thin. Your prayers rise, and they feel like they're meeting nothing but silence. The scriptures that once burned with life now just sit quietly on the page. Your heart searches for that familiar spiritual warmth and finds instead a kind of cool, unsettling distance. Here's the thing. This isn't rare. This isn't some unique private failure of yours. It is, in fact, part of the landscape many, many believers walk.
So, what do we do with this experience, this perceived distance? Could this hiddenness be purposeful, rather than just an accident? Scripture, my friends, gives us absolute permission to ask these deeply unsettling questions. The Psalms are full of voices, much like yours and mine, crying out into what feels like an abyss of silence. How long, O Lord? Why do you hide your face? The prophets speak of days when the word of the Lord was rare. Even Jesus, on the cross, quoted the Psalm of forsakenness. The tradition doesn't pretend this silence is imaginary. It records it honestly, and then it keeps going. What's interesting is how our faith tradition integrates this silence rather than denying it. In the Christian Gothic sense, this isn't some empty void. It's a structured space. Imagine a vast cathedral at night. The high ceilings vanish into darkness, yet the building is still a place of worship. The architecture is still holding something holy. The hiddenness of God can function in a similar way. The felt presence may withdraw, but the structure of the relationship, the covenant, it remains. It doesn't depend on constant emotional confirmation.
This leads us to our first potential purpose of hiddenness, the deepening of desire. When God is immediately and constantly available in the precise way we prefer, our desire for Him can frankly grow a bit soft. We take that nearness for granted. But when the presence becomes less obvious, something profound happens within the soul. We begin to lean forward. We start to seek more carefully. We notice smaller signs. We learn to value the quieter forms of grace that are so easy to miss when everything is bright and loud. Desire that has to stretch becomes a stronger desire. Think of it, in the dim corridors of a Gothic church, the eye adjusts. Details that were washed out in full daylight become visible. The same can happen in your spiritual life. And here's another crucial purpose, the refining of trust. Faith that rests only on continuous felt experience is inherently vulnerable. When the feelings shift, and they inevitably will, that kind of faith can wobble, right? Seasons of divine reserve force us to ask a very direct question. What are we actually trusting? Are we trusting the current temperature of our emotions, or are we trusting the unchanging character of the one who has promised never to leave or forsake us?
These dark stretches, as challenging as they are, teach us a more durable kind of confidence. They teach us to stand firm on the promises, even when that immediate sense of presence has gone quiet. This isn't harsh training, my friend. It's profoundly formative. The soul that has walked through silence and kept believing becomes a soul that can hold others when their own silence arrives. And there's also a deeply compassionate, protective dimension to God's hiddenness. Think about it. Full, unmediated glory is not something the human heart, in its current state, can truly bear. The veil that once hid the Holy of Holies, the cloud that covered the mountain, the ancient warning that no one can see God's face and live, these aren't arbitrary restrictions. They are profoundly merciful. Hiddenness, in this light, can be a form of divine kindness, carefully adjusting the intensity of God's presence
to what we're actually able to receive at a given stage of our journey. The God who sometimes seems distant may very well be the same God who is carefully pacing his revelation so that it forms us rather than overwhelms us. It's like the colored glass in a Gothic cathedral. Direct, unfiltered brilliance would be simply too much for eyes that are still learning to see. This gentle pacing ensures that we grow into his presence rather than being scorched by it. And beyond protection, this hiddenness also crucially preserves mystery. A faith that has everything explained, everything immediately accessible, well, it risks becoming thin and easily managed, doesn't it? Mystery keeps the relationship alive. It leaves room for wonder, for awe. It prevents us from reducing God to a set of predictable responses. The unfinished quality of certain Gothic structures, that sense that the building is reaching towards something it hasn't yet fully grasped, this mirrors a profound spiritual truth. We live in the already and the not yet. We know in part. The hiddenness reminds us that we are still on the way, still being formed, still moving towards a day when the veil will be fully lifted. Until then, my friend, the partial view is part of the gift. What if embracing the unknown is a key part of truly knowing God? Consider how light and dark fundamentally work together in any sacred space. The true beauty of stained glass depends on a certain level of interior dimness. Too much external light and the colors simply fade. That interplay is absolutely necessary. In the same way, the clarity of certain spiritual truths often becomes far sharper against the background of experienced silence. We begin to see the larger patterns of providence, the long faithfulness that runs beneath the surface fluctuations of feeling. The hiddenness doesn't cancel the light. It actually helps the light become more distinct, more impactful. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't to romanticize every season of dryness, or to suggest that every experience of distance is some pure, unadulterated gift. Sometimes, yes, silence is indeed the result of our own neglect, our own turning away. Discernment is always needed here. But the tradition is equally clear that there are also profound times when the silence isn't primarily about our failure at all. It's about God's deeper, sometimes hidden, work within us. The dark night is not always a night we have caused. Sometimes it is a night we are simply being led through. So what then is the posture that truly fits this purposeful hiddenness? It is not frantic effort to force the old feelings back, nor is it despair that the relationship has ended. It is a quieter, more enduring faithfulness. Keep praying, even when those prayers feel utterly one-sided. Keep reading your scripture, even when the words sit quietly on the page. Keep showing up in the places of worship and community, even when your heart feels muted. Stay in the corridor, my friend. Walk the full length of it. Trust that the architecture, the divine structure of your faith, is still holding something holy, even when the candles around you are few. In this Christian Gothic atmosphere we've explored, this posture has a certain dignity. It's the dignity of the soul that continues to seek in the half-light. It's the dignity of the believer who refuses to reduce God to a source of constant emotional supply, and instead learns to rest in the deeper reality of covenant. The silence becomes a place of formation, my friends, rather than a place of abandonment. And there's also a crucial communal dimension to this journey. When one person walks through a season of hiddenness, the larger body, the community of faith, can hold space for them. We don't always need to fix the silence or explain it away. Sometimes the most helpful thing is simply to remain present, to keep the shared candles lit, to remind one another that the God who is sometimes hidden is still the God who is faithful. The cathedral, remember, is larger than any single experience of dimness. The light that has withdrawn from one corner is still present in another. We carry each other through these shadowed stretches. As we move toward the end of our time, I want to return to that central question. Could God's hiddenness have a purpose? The answer our tradition offers, our experience whispers, is a resounding yes. The purpose is multifaceted. It deepens desire. It refines trust. It protects the soul, preserves mystery, trains the heart, and forms enduring faith. Ultimately, this purposeful hiddenness prepares us for a day when the veil will be gone and we will see face to face. Until that day, my friend, the veil has work to do. The shadows are not empty. They are charged with the slow, careful work of a God who knows precisely how to shape a soul for glory. So, if you are currently in a season where His presence feels distant, please understand, you are not alone and you are most certainly not necessarily failing. In fact, you may be in a profound classroom. The lesson for you may be trust. The method may very well be silence. And the outcome, if you choose to stay and persevere, is a deeper capacity to truly know the one who is both hidden and incredibly near. So I urge you, stay in the corridor. Keep walking. Remember, the architecture of your faith is still holy. The light that is filtered is still light, full of grace and purpose. And the God who sometimes hides His face is the very same God who has promised that nothing, absolutely nothing, can separate us from His unwavering love. That, my friends, is the profound hope we hold in the shadows. That is the purpose that can live inside the silence. Thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to spend this time with you. God bless. And until next time, courage. Find more at www.assemblybethesda.com.